and show you how to do Pergamano. Pergamano is a craft on parchment paper. It's a bit like greaseproof paper but stronger, and the art of parchment is to make your marks with white ink and then you emboss from the back, which stretches the fibres so that you get a white effect. So we're going to do white parchment work to start with. I've already started this to try and cut down the time so we don't bore you too much. So as long as you have an image you can trace, and I've chosen this one for a bookmark, that's all you need to think about at the moment. Choose anything you like. In your packs you should have parchment paper, a white pen, an embossing tool. You will need some soap, a bar of soap. That's so that when you emboss the parchment, the ball tool doesn't drag, it'll flow easier. You won't have a pricking tool. These are quite expensive, so we couldn't afford to put those in your kit. But if you've got a sewing needle or maybe even a pin, you'll be able to do the pricking bit later on. But first of all, we'll start with, you have your pattern, and if you attach your cut and attach your parchment paper to cover the pattern, and I've just used a piece of sellotape so that it doesn't move. So I've done it in 4 stages so that you can perhaps follow it one step at a time. So the first step is you actually trace over your pattern with your white gel pen, and it's just a simple trace. You don't have to be too fussy, just to make your mark. And I'll just turn this over in a minute so you can see what I've done. So if I flip that over now, you can see that I've just done an outline. So that's the first step. The second step is embossing from the back. So when you've drawn your pattern, you'll just go over with your ball tool. So you retrace all your steps. Don't press too hard or you'll break the parchment. And if the ball tool drags, that's when we use the soap. So if you just rub the end of your tool in the soap and go back over your line, you'll feel it start to slightly give. It expands and it stretches the fibres on the parchment. That's the effect we're trying to get. So when you turn that over, you can see the difference between just drawing it and embossing it on the back. You'll also feel it is slightly raised. So that's step 2. Step number 3, so you've drawn your pattern, you've embossed the outline. We're going to try now and make it white from behind. So this is just a gentle pressure. You can either put your soap onto the back like that, or as I was doing just now, rub your ball tool into it. And you gently, and I do mean very gently, rub where you want it to whiten. The more you rub, the more it'll whiten. If you were doing a flower, say with 5 petals like this, if you go round each petal and then go back round so that it's had time to rest. So that's step number 3 really. We've whitened and lightened the flower. Now if you look at this one, you can see it's more shaded. That's the 4th and last stage really. So it's more embossing, pressing a little bit harder. The more you emboss, the whiter it will get. So can you see the different effects we've got? So that's where you draw it, emboss the outline, fill in the petals, and then you define it more with more white. I'm making this for my friend called Leslie, so all I've done is on the computer printed her name. I did it the first time and I didn't like the size, so I just made it larger, and you place that behind your parchment, trace the name just as you did with the original pattern, flip it over and emboss it, so now her name is also raised. So that's basically the 4 steps to making a parchment book.